Running is not a sport. It never has been. Okay, it is a sport. I know. But listen to this story. Because the other day my watch died halfway through a run, I kept going anyway. And what happened next made me realize something I should have figured out on day one. Today I had 14 kilometers planned with Samosa. Samosa is a small Italian Greyhound. For those who don't know the breed, the Italian Greyhound is one of the fastest dogs in the world, built by evolution to run, hunt, sprint. Lean muscles, long legs, natural aerodynamics. Samosa has reinterpreted the concept of Greyhound through a contemplative lens. Not metaphorically, he literally lowers his nose and begins a systematic olfactory inspection of the territory. Flowers, bushes, rocks, every rock, all the rocks. Darwin would be rolling in his grave. I just wait, because I've learned by now that with Samosa you don't win. I had 14 easy kilometers planned, low heart rate, route loaded on the watch. He had planned to enjoy the morning. At kilometer 6, the Apple Watch died. 450 euros of technology defeated by a 6-kilometer run. Somewhere in the world, a Garmin user is laughing. They're right. The first few minutes after it went dark were strange. Total silence. No beeps, no data, no pace on my wrist. Just me, the trail, and Samosa. Samosa, meanwhile, had stopped to sniff something at the edge of the trail with the focus of a university researcher. He couldn't have cared less about my 14 planned kilometers. At that point, I did the only sensible thing. I stopped too. And that's when something strange happened. Without a pass on my wrist, without the kilometer beeps, without anything to look at, I started listening. My breathing, my footsteps, the sound of my shoes on that particular surface, which was different from usual, Samosa trotting ahead of me again. With that ridiculous rhythm of his that's never consistent but never wrong. I get home. Samosa collapses on the couch as if he had just finished an ultramarathon. He's asleep before I've even taken off my shoes. I open my laptop. I search Zen running, meditation, then mindful running, then Kinhen walking meditation, then monks who run. At some point Google asks me, "Are you sure you're okay?" No Google, I'm not. Scrolling through an article, I stop on a word, Transient Hypofrontality. I don't know what it means. I look it up, a whole new world opens up. I discover the Kaihyogyo monks of Mount Hiei, who run 84 kilometers a day for 7 years. I run about 50 kilometers a week and complain when it rains. I discovered the Tibetan Lungompa monks who crossed the Himalayas in a trance, fixing their gaze on a distant star. I discovered that the rhythm of footsteps works exactly like a mantra. I discovered that running shuts off the part of the brain that makes you feel bad. I discovered that in practice, self-criticism goes quiet. You stop wasting energy judging every step you take. The brain processes problems in the background without you noticing, and you completely lose track of time. It's not a metaphor, it's a physiology. And the more I read, the more I convinced myself I've found something. A secret practice, a higher level of running that very few people know about. Starting tomorrow, everything changes. No more podcasts on runs, no more music, no more distractions. I'll run in silence, aware, present. I'll be a Zen runner. I've already planned how I'll tell people about it. I also find a book. It's called The Marathon Monks of Mount Hiei, written by John Stevens, a professor of Buddhist studies who lived in Japan for 30 years. The definitive book on these monks. Physical delivery, 12 days. I can't wait. I buy the ebook, it costs 10 euros. It is officially the most important purchase I've made this month, considering I just bought a second heart rate monitor to cross-reference data and get a more accurate reading. I'm mentally building a spreadsheet about meditation. I don't know if that makes me a Zen runner or a sick person, probably both. I read it until late, and I find a sentence Stevens puts as the founding principle of the entire practice. If mind and body are unified, there is nothing that cannot be accomplished. Mind and body unified. I read it 3 times, then I close my phone and go to sleep. The next day I head out again, alone this time, with a charged watch, but my head is still in the book, in that sentence, mind and body unified. I was thinking about something, I can't remember what, and then I wasn't thinking about anything, not because I got distracted, because there was no more room. My body had taken up all the available space. I wasn't deciding the length of my stride, the frequency of my breath, the angle of my foot. It was all just happening on its own. And in that moment I understood what mind and body unified actually means. It's not harmony, it's surrender. And there, in that silence, I started to picture them. The Kaihyogyo monks in white walking down this same trail. In the book I read that they don't run to train, they run to die symbolically to themselves. Every outing is a funeral for the ego. They set out at midnight dressed in white, the color of death in Japan, exactly as they would be dressed at their own funeral. They carry a rope and a knife. If they don't complete the route, they must take their own life. The full course takes 1,000 days spread over 7 years. At the end, as a final test, they face 9 days without food, water or sleep. If they survive, they become living Buddhas, saints in their own lifetime, revered as divine beings, and the 1,000th day ends without ceremony or celebration. You arrive, you finish, you go back to the temple, no medal, just silence. In 450 years of recorded history, only 51 people have completed the course. For comparison, more people have been to the moon. And here, while I was probably having the deepest thought of my entire athletic life, I realized something else. If you haven't liked this video and aren't following the channel yet, you're actively obstructing my spiritual enlightenment. The Tibetan monks never had this problem. And that's when something far bigger than anything I'd read up to that point opened up before me. What the monks are searching for up there doesn't happen only on a sacred mountain, not after years of meditation. It happens on any ordinary trail, about 20 minutes into a run, when the prefrontal cortex had switched off and my brain had stopped monitoring, analyzing, worrying, and my body had simply started moving. It's the same thing monks spend years searching for. We just don't know it. And there, something much bigger opens up than anything I'd read so far. I think about everyone who runs, each one with their own story. The person who started running after an illness, to reclaim a body they felt slipping away. The person who runs to lose weight and would never put it in those terms. The person who runs because they've been separated for 6 months and don't know what to do with their head. The person who runs because they quit smoking and needed something to hold on to. The person who runs because they're 50 and want to feel alive. The person who runs because it's the one moment of the day when their phone can ring as much as it wants and they won't answer. Different motivations, different stories, different needs. And yet, everyone after 20 minutes does the same thing. The prefrontal cortex switches off. The brain stops dwelling on the past and worrying about the future. The body becomes the only thing that exists. The stride, the breath, the rhythm, they don't call it meditation. They've probably never thought about it that way. But that's exactly what it is. And then there's me, running with a watch, data, heart rate zones, building an app, called data runner to measure everything measurable, and who underneath all those numbers was clearly looking for the exact same thing. But wait, I didn't discover anything. I was already doing it. For years, every single run, and you all do it too. Every time you put on your shoes and head out. The dead watch didn't teach me anything. It just removed enough noise to let me hear what was already there. Running is not a sport, or rather, is not just a sport. It's the oldest form of meditation there is, and it belongs to everyone, even without knowing it, especially without knowing it.